Well, here we are, 2014, and many of you aren't where you need to be. And I keep receiving these phone calls. What do I need to do to get to where I want to be? And it all gets down to what I keep preaching every single week in my newsletters, what I keep preaching in our consulting practice, what I keep preaching in our podcast. And it's all about planning, accountability, and direction. If you want to be successful in 2014, you need to set specific goals and objectives. You need to set time frames to accomplish those goals and objectives. You need to make your employees accountable. You need to give them specific criteria. You give them time frames to accomplish that specific criteria, and there also has to be a financial carrot for them if they excel. You need to get rid of your sacred cows. You need to focus on the future, not the past. Change. As human beings, the hardest thing we have is to embrace change. Anytime we're uncomfortable, we don't like that feeling. Anytime we have to do something that's different, we don't like that feeling. How many times have you seen someone that is absolutely petrified if they have to do a public speaking? Well, if you're petrified and you have to do a public speaking, remember one thing: the most important thing when you're in the sales business and you're selling a service, you need to be able to communicate. So if you're not an effective communicator, how do you expect to sell? If you're not an effective communicator, how do you expect to relay to your employees what you expect of them? If you're not effective a communicator, then you're not an effective leader. If you cannot stomach change, if you cannot embrace change, but you still want to be ahead of the curve, then find somebody that can. It's important to recognize that there's some things that we just can't do. I don't believe that, but many people that I talk to believe that. I believe that you can do anything that you want if you're willing to make the sacrifices, if you're willing to put in the time, and you're recognizing that failure is part of the process. But a lot of people don't feel like that. A lot of people just want financial security. A lot of people just want to come to work in the morning, leave at night, and know that they don't have to deal with the pressures of the ongoing business. Well, when you own a business, you have an obligation to your employees. You have an obligation to yourself, and you have an obligation to your family. But you have an obligation to your employees. If you're not doing well, you need, and some of it is because you're not communicating effectively, then you need to set goals, you need to set objectives, you need to set time frames, and you need to establish accountability. That's just a fact of life. I try to take everything and take it from a business level to a personal level. For us that are, for all of us that are married, if your wife says take out the garbage, do you take it out Wednesday, or do you take it out Thursday, or take it out now? I can guarantee in my household, you better take the damn garbage out now. What's the same thing in a business? Think about it. You know, recently I told some of my sales staff, look, in order to be effective in your job, you need to go to a next level. You need to keep your body healthy, because when your body's healthy, your mind's healthy. And when you're dealing in a pressure situation, you can't let it affect you. Well, it's the same thing in any business. If you're not where you need to be, that stress is an incredible amount of pressure that's very difficult to relieve. And what happens when we're under stress? We don't eat right. We don't exercise. We go home and our head is numb. And we start going through periods of depression. But you know, that's all part of the process. If you know that you're not where you need to be, then you need to change. I love watching those infomercials. One minute you have a huge person that says, I used to be 300 pounds. And the next 90 days from now, they're healthy and they're trim. And assuming those infomercials are correct, that person made a decision that they were going to change. That person was willing to make the sacrifices to change. And when you see those results, those aren't actors. Well, it's the same thing in a business. If you've got too much overhead, you've got to reduce the overhead. If you have to reduce the overhead, you have to have a program that you're going to stick with. So if there's anything I can impart to you is, it doesn't make any difference where you were last year. You're starting off with a new slate. You have a limited amount of time to start making an impact on your business. It can make an impact on your life, can make an impact on your employees, and that can create some additional shareholder value. But in order to do that, you must be willing to change. You must be willing to step outside of your comfort zone. You must be willing to condition your mind and sometimes your body to get to where you need to be. But I can tell you that I'm a firm believer that anybody can do anything they want if they're willing to make the sacrifices. Why do some people need a trainer? Because they need a motivator. Well, it's the same thing in a business. If you need a motivator, find someone that's been successful in transportation. No, that's not a plug for Ahern, but we have been successful for 27 years. But remember, it's not me. It's all the auditors that ran successful trucking companies that retired early. They got a lot of money, but guess what? They want to continue to make a contribution. And that's the difference. Remember a couple of weeks ago I said I took the 3 pages and only had a half a page of my assets and the rest were a lot of weak points? That's what I'm saying. If you need a trainer, get one. If you need a trainer, get the best. If you need a trainer that's going to charge you $5 or someone that's going to charge you $100, you better hire that $100 person. Because again, look at the reality of the situation. If you go into the doctor and they say you need open heart surgery, but it's $100,000 if you use Mr. Wonderful, or you can use Joe the plumber and it's $50. Who are you going to hire? Well, it's the same thing in your business. So if you want to change your destiny, if you want to have an economic impact on your business, if you want to make some money, start practicing goals, objectives, accountability, start embracing change, and start focusing on the things that are important, and you will be successful. Thank you once again for attending the podcast.